Yep. Go.
Okay. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Hey Dom, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How
I'm
was Thanksgiving?
very, very good and very relaxing. That was the cool thing. So low key relaxing, and that's what I wanted to have. How about
Awesome,
yours?
awesome. Holidays about food. How can you go wrong?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep. And believe me, it was good leftovers. I'm still eating them. So but
Okay, it's time to skip the pleasantries and get right down to business because
absolutely.
wow, we have so much to talk about.
Yeah, yeah. This the picture that's showing behind me, if anybody hasn't guessed, this one's The Shining. But you go ahead and why don't you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
some?
we're going to talk about the 1980 Stanley Kubrick horror film, The Shining. And I'm going to get into this later on, but I want people to know that I said the Kubrick film and not the Stephen King film.
Right, right.
And we'll
Which
discuss more about
which
that
is
later.
horrible.
But do you want to give the description of what the
uh,
movie's about?
well, it's I actually read the novel before I ever saw the movie,
Mm-hmm.
which both I get a little bit of why Stephen King was disappointed. Kubrick did change the overall, but the book and the movie were basically about a family and headed by Jack Torrance, who was a sometime writer, wants to be a writer, want to be a writer, and he was a school teacher that failed at that. So I don't, the guy. There's a little bit of a thing going right into it from the very beginning, but basically the premise is uh, he's kind of screwed up his whole life. He's alcoholic. He's trying to recover from it. So they head to Colorado. They're in Boulder, Colorado. He takes a job to watch the Overlook Inn, which is a very beautiful, fancy inn built on
That's
Indian
all the
bear.
best people.
Yeah. Well, well, that and that I really want to get into that, but that's right off. That's anybody that hasn't seen it before we even get too much deeper. If you haven't seen the movie, I don't know why you haven't, but if you haven't seen the movie, you should probably watch it before you see this because it does contain spoilers. Our channel is called Spoiler Alert because of that.
And if you haven't seen the movie, why are you listening to us?
Right, really. So
We're just talking about them.
well, I hope they do listen to us, but like I said, just be aware it does contain spoilers. So and I'm already starting to do that. But yes, those are the main characters. Shelley Duvall, brilliant actress. She in this anyway. But and that's a whole other thing is the getting into the whole thing with Kubrick and how Kubrick would sometimes torture his his
Oh
actors and
man,
actresses, and he certainly did with Shelley Duvall.
yeah, that scene where she's just found Jack's manuscript.
Yeah,
All work and no play make Jack a dull boy.
right.
Um, and and she's backing away, swinging the bat.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
did 127 takes. It's in the
yeah.
Guinness Book of World Records.
You know something? That was something that really he was actually like brutal to his actors on
Mm-hmm.
what he would do with making them do take after take, and he did it to all of them, and
Mm-hmm.
he always did that to his actors and actresses, but it was that's that's actually like cruel to people, and it got to the point even like Jack Nicholson said, um, he said that's weird. That's actually backwards. I don't know
Huh.
why. Can you see that backwards?
Oh yeah, it looks fine to me.
Oh, it does really.
Yeah, it looks great.
No, but does it? Is it backwards?
No,
It's
it's perfect.
for some reason it's displaying on mine as being backwards. But
All I'm saying is that it looks good. It looks
yeah,
good to me.
okay. Well, at any rate, like I said, he did that to the point where Jack Nicholson was saying that he was just throwing every day. He would throw his script away when they
Mhm.
handed to him because, and they'd say you're throwing it away, and he'd say you're just going to change it anyway.
Oh yeah, it
That's
wasn't
what he,
just the takes; it was the rewrites, it was
yeah,
the script changes.
yeah. No, he was, like I said, he was actually like torturous with his, and
But
that's
but
her.
you got to wonder with a genius like Kubrick, who's
Yeah.
like can just control things. He was a control freak.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No,
Did he do
absolutely.
that?
To
Did
the
he do
point.
that to get things right,
Right.
or did he do that to push the actors to improvise?
He did. And
Because so many of these lines were improvisational,
yes. Oh,
and if you
he
can't remember your line because it's constantly changing, you're almost forced to make stuff up.
yeah. Well, if you think about it, like look at like we are talking last week, we're talking about planes, trains. I mean, in that, when you hear, I was talking about the whole scene where he had the actor spit on his hand and then
Yep.
shake Steve Martin. That was to get a natural reaction. So
Mhm.
Kubrick did the same thing.
Just in a
And
meaner way.
what's yeah, that was the only issue is that I think because Shelley Duvall hates she hates the whole idea of the movie that she did, and Kubrick, she lifelong hatred after that movie. But so her and Nicholson said, even though he was driven to the point of craziness at times, he said her experience and my experience was much different, which I kind of think to myself, well, you were helping to torture her too, because he did. Now, and when you get into the school of method acting again, a lot of times it's like Nicholson staying in his part. He kind of did that. And Kubrick kind of wanted the actors to be in their part. So he was fine with like making Shelley Duvall's life miserable. but
Yeah, so
but
one of the things I watched in prep for this, like this is such a dense movie
yeah, yeah,
as far as what it contains, that I think I did more research than I've ever done before for something.
yeah.
I'm like I said it earlier, I'm Kubricked out.
Oh, yeah. You actually, it's funny because I sent you the I sent you the message about that other documentary on
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Thanksgiving, and you were like, I don't even want to think about like Kubrick
But
right now. It's like,
but
yeah, but
watching Kubrick's daughter, Vivian
oh
Kubrick,
yeah,
her documentary, because while they were filming The Shining, she followed people around. She did the making of The Shining while it was being made,
right,
and
right,
you could see like Jack Nicholson getting into character was crazy. He'd be
yeah.
like just holding this axe and jumping around, like just psyching himself up.
Well, something, that the scene where he's actually breaking down the door. I was just reading something about that because apparently when he was breaking down the door, they had given, or they put up a fake door
Mm-hmm.
on the set, and he I guess they said that he was actually like a volunteer
Yeah, he
fireman
was a
when
volunteer
he
fire marshal.
yes, and they said that he cut through the door so quickly that it was like we actually need to use a real door. so,
Yep,
so
yep.
yeah, but yeah, they redid the set just so you could cut through the door properly, so it looked realistic. But yeah, and again, I think you're absolutely correct with the that you know Kubrick was absolutely eccentric, but I do believe, I mean, you have to say, brilliant filmmaker, willing to take incredible risks. He had just
Mhm.
wrapped Barry Lyndon, which didn't do that good. Although anyone that hasn't seen Barry Lyndon, I highly recommend it. But
Let me push back on that.
yeah,
Barry Lyndon is a beautiful movie. It's
yes,
gorgeous.
and
It's a
beautifully
great
shot. Yeah,
period piece.
yeah.
It is slow as molasses.
It is, and deliberately slow. There's a scene where the main characters are walking towards each other.
Mhm.
I can't remember how many minutes that was that they were walking to. He did that, and it's a really long shot. No
Mhm.
director would do that nowadays.
But that's why I said like it's a beautiful film. It's a work of
Yes,
art.
yeah,
So if you're looking for gorgeous cinematography, great period costumes, um, then yeah, it's a great movie. If you're looking for action, if you're looking for a story that just grabs you in, I
yeah.
don't think Barry Lyndon is it. Like
Well, I mean, it's a different type of movie.
it
But
is.
I will say this. I mean, I think I've only seen Barry Lyndon once, so I don't. It's one of those kind of things that if you if you said like, hey, let's sit down and watch Barry Lyndon, I wouldn't want to watch it every day. Let's put it that way. So as
I don't know if I'd want to watch it more than once.
yeah. Well, and that's one of the that's one of the issues with Barry Lyndon is yeah, it's a slow moving film, so it's not something that you're gonna want to sit through every day, but or once a year or whatever. I wouldn't. I mean, I'll probably revisit the film in another 3 years, but
So that picture you've got up,
yes, the
I've
Overlook.
been there.
What's that?
I've been there.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, I've drank hot cocoa next to a fire in their
Yeah.
lounge.
Nice, nice.
Do you know where that is?
I was reading something on because they used a number of different places. I mean, they
Mhm.
built an overlook in England. They which apparently ran into like incredible expenses, but they also shot scenes out of there was you can say it's a
That's
uh,
Timberline Lodge on
oh,
Mount
oh,
Hood in Oregon.
okay, yeah,
Like this is
yeah, and I
about an
guess
hour drive from me.
really is that's
Yeah,
something. Wow, nice, nice. So you stayed
maybe an
there?
hour and a half.
Did you stay there, or did you
No, no, just
just?
visited.
Yeah, that's pretty darn cool. Yeah. Wow, you guys should. It's not quite really the Overlook, but I mean, you guys should stay there and in the middle of the night play that music. Dun, dun.
So it's funny. I'm going to apologize to anyone watching in advance. This video is probably going to disintegrate into just us throwing trivia back and forth
Yeah,
because
yeah,
this is, I know we're given a description, but it's such a well-known film. It's a best-selling Stephen King novel.
yeah.
It's a film that's been judged to be a classic by the Library of Congress.
Right, right.
It's tough to add more to the film.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so we're just going to probably start throwing things out
oh yeah.
and hopefully they'll make sense.
Well, one of the things that I was going to throw out at you, a personal question about your. I know you like horror, just like I like horror a lot.
Yep.
Um, Horror, sci-fi, all that. Those are favorite genres for us. But let me ask you something. First of all, do you often get frightened by horror movies, or do you ever get frightened by horror movies? Does horror on film do you have ones that really make you uneasy and scare you?
I I've got tons that make me uneasy. In
Okay,
fact, I love the ones that create such an atmosphere that you're unsettled. You
right,
start to question your reality.
yeah,
But as far as fear, they almost never scare me.
right.
I
Well,
mean, a jump scare will shock me. It'll
right,
surprise me.
yeah,
But I, for one thing, when you've seen as much horror as I have,
right,
there's not a whole lot that's
yeah.
outside of your limits.
Yes,
Um,
that's the trouble. I think I'm a very jaded a very jaded movie watcher, period, because I've seen so many films. So when I see a movie that's reported to be a scary horror movie, the
Mhm.
things that scare like a lot of people, um, they just you know, most of those things that people get frightened by, I it doesn't scare me. You know, I look at I look at, you know, mainstream horror. People got frightened over, speaking of Stephen King, they got frightened over it. Um,
Mhm.
and I saw the first one with, that was the TV one, TV movie, and I thought that in many ways that was better than the one that came later with that silly clown that was dancing and singing. And I remember friends of mine that actually said like, "Oh, that movie scared the hell out of me," and it was like, "What part?" Because
Yeah, but it's even more than that. Like we've seen so many films
yeah,
that it's hard to be immersed
yeah,
in a film. You know it's a film.
yeah,
So like while I'm watching The Shining,
yeah,
I'm also thinking to myself like, wow, they really did a great job outfitting that room. The prop guy did a fantastic job with that.
oh yeah, yeah,
And oh my God, the lighting in here. So you know,
yeah,
when you know a lot about how the sausage is made,
yeah,
when you actually kind of read up and studied about how the sausage is made,
right.
um, it's
That's
hard
quite
to
an analogy right there.
it's hard to be
Yeah,
so immersed that you actually are scared.
yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. I've seen so many movies, like a scene like this right here.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not just looking at the scene and I'm um, and thinking, okay, spooky hallway. I'm also looking at the scene and the way this was shot, and um, it's claustrophobic too. It's drawing you into a central point that um, is frightening. Now, as far as like this particular film, one of the reasons I asked you if this movie in particular, or any horror movie, actually like made you uneasy or scared or whatever, because I find, yes, I'm very jaded about horror movies for one thing, and this particular one, when I first saw the movie, um, there were certain aspects of it that I didn't like, and there were certain aspects, maybe because I had seen or had read the novel, and like King, there were things that I found different. But I also, certain scenes like the blood rushing out of the elevators and stuff, I thought, yeah, it's a little too much. However, I love that scene when Danny's laying there and he's frightened out of his mind and he's getting the visions of the blood
Mhm.
running out,
Mhm.
which gets me into the whole thing of Stephen King's criticisms of this movie. And there are some things, yes, that Kubrick maybe didn't need to change that he did.
Mhm.
But you have to look at the overall finished work, and it's brilliant. Um,
It is, and even King admits it's brilliant. I mean,
yes,
like I've listened to interviews with him, and he said things like, you know, I felt it was a very flawed movie when he
right.
compares it to his story, but with someone like Kubrick, there's always going to be an element of genius that is unavoidable.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and here's the thing. And this is something I find very true with Stephen King's writing is great. I'm not gonna. He's certainly no filmmaker, and he never should have tackled. If if he was listening, and I know he's not listening to our channel, but if he was listening to our channel, I'd say, don't try it again, Steve.
Yeah, yeah.
leave.
If
Yeah,
by some chance
yeah,
Mr. King gets wind of our channel,
yeah.
love your books,
Yes,
your
absolutely.
writing.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant writer.
Didn't write your TV version of The Stand,
Yeah,
or
it was,
not The Stand. The Stand was good. The Shining.
yes, and one of the things that like I was going to say about his writing is his writing often doesn't translate well onto film because the stuff that he makes you visualize in your head and that actually like make you uneasy or scared or frightened, whatever. It's because he has such a a talent for making you frightened, and making characters very real and situations very real. He's a brilliant writer. Now, as far as a movie, some of his monsters, some of the things that he's making you visualize in a way that you're like, holy shit. When you try to do that on film and you're actually trying to visualize it, it isn't scary. Or it isn't, or it's hard to make scary. And
it's funny you mention that because now that I'm thinking about one of the few horror movies that actually made me scared was Pet Cemetery.
yeah,
That
well,
scene where
yeah,
the little boy comes back,
right. Oh,
and that freaked me out.
yeah. What, but like not Stand By Me. It was that has that at the end of it they go in a cave to kill a spider, and it's like the clown was scarier than the spider, the big spider, and for the book it worked fine because what you're picturing in your head can work, but when you're trying to show this giant spider, I'm sorry, a giant spider doesn't frighten me that much.
But getting back to The Shining,
Yeah,
you can definitely see for that very reason why Kubrick made some of the changes he did. One of the things that stands out to me is at one part of the book, The Shining,
right.
there's these topiary animals that
Yes.
start to move and threaten one. And a lot of people just said like they didn't have the CGI capabilities that we do today, so they couldn't have done that. So Kubrick switched that out for the hedge maze. The hedge maze at the end is not in the book.
Well, let me just say something.
When you compare those scenes to Stephen King's version of The Shining,
right,
that actually did try to make the topiary move, that just kind of looked ridiculous.
It was, see, that's what that is part of why I hate the Stephen King one. And that is exactly my point about there's some things that in a book you can make scary, but when you try to put them on screen, a big rabbit that's a hedge shaped like a giant rabbit, which is what was, and it's moving like this, in little things. It's like first of all, I'd probably think I was tripping on mushrooms. I would not think to myself, wow, I'm scared out of my mind. There's a giant hedge that seems to be moving every once in a while. There's certain and a bunny rabbit too, of all things, I mean, they could have had it shaped like a wolf or something. It's just it's ridiculous and it's not scary. And it's getting back to even the thing I was talking about. A lot of things that are scary a lot of times are suspense and things that make you the anticipation of something. But like I said, although this is a very Kubrick's The Shining is a very visual movie. These twins, now, like I said, I'm pretty jaded when it comes to horror movies. These twins, they scared me. It was like, wow.
But creepy kids are always scary. Like, let's face it, that Danny, Derek's son, he was scary.
Oh my God! Like when
his finger starts talking.
Yes. Oh yeah. Well, and if you think about it in a lot of ways, that whatever that second sight that he had, it was almost like he had like a spirit guide or something that was right there, like helping him out, because when the mother, like later on in the movie when things start really going bad, the mother is like, she's trying to talk to him, and he goes, Danny's not here. Danny's gone away. And it's like, that would have, as a parent too, that would have frightened the
Oh
shit
yeah.
out of you. It's like, wow, my kid's saying that he's gone away and Danny's not coming back. It's like,
Now, now, here's something. I'm going to change the path a little.
sure.
Here's something that I heard a few times during the course of my research
Right.
that I can't confirm, and it's that
Okay.
for this film, or prior to this film, Kubrick had become fascinated with subliminal advertising.
Okay. Well, that actually sounds very plausible.
It sounds very plausible, and on close observation of this movie, The Shining,
Right.
you could definitely see some things he did, particularly with the set,
Right.
that subliminally create this sense of unease, of unreality in the viewer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Well,
there are barely noticed that there are things that change that unless you go back and watch it a few times, you would never notice on a conscious level.
right.
But subconsciously, you're thinking something's not right here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And yet I could find nothing. Like I looked at interviews with Kubrick's Wikipedia page, not a single thing mentioned about
Right.
subliminal advertising when you
Oh,
look
yeah.
at Kubrick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I can't say that I know of any, like direct subliminal things that he,
Mhm.
but there are things that just the way it's the whole movie in some ways it's like subliminal but not
Oh,
subliminal. It's like it's coming at, but the way things are just like kind of flash in front of you, even the twins that they'll pop in and out, they're there and they're gone,
mhm.
different visual images. So it's maybe a less subtle way of doing subliminal, but yeah. So I definitely think he threw things at you. Now, since I've got this particular shot up, one of the things that I'd like to talk about, and that is how um, Kubrick, when they started putting his films on DVD, I believe it was DVD was the first time that this really became an issue. But he had a real problem with presenting this in a widescreen format, and so he actually um, he actually was arguing with them about should I should I do this in 4:3 or widescreen.
Mhm.
So it was he actually made them do it in 4:3. So yeah, after he died, now it's in widescreen. But that was one that was, and to me, it's like, look at this shot, it's better in widescreen. But
Well, I
and
mean, a lot of things, a lot of the ways he's created the set,
yeah,
he also wanted a feeling of claustrophobia
yeah, yeah,
in the viewer.
yeah,
So I can understand his exception with the wide screen.
yeah, yeah,
But the thing is with Kubrick, who knows what he was trying to do? Like he's secretive. He would never answer questions directly.
right,
And so I'm sure there were many, many things he did, many artistic decisions in the making of this film that no one will ever know the reasons for.
right, right, right. But well, I felt he was almost being short-sighted in the sense that I don't think he saw the advent of widescreen TVs. We've all got widescreen TVs now. And that was kind of it was like, yeah, a long way to get there, but that was kind of the point was I think he missed the boat. It was like, yeah, they're, widescreen TVs and high def is coming, buddy. It's
Yeah, I'm not sure that was a concern of his, though. I think he just wanted to unsettle the audience.
Yeah,
And maybe to him, the screen ratio didn't really factor into what he was trying to do artistically.
yeah. I,
And
I I don't know. I just look at when I saw this because I was watching it. I never got a chance to see this in the theater. Did you? Did you see this in the theater or
no, I don't think I did.
no? So the first time I saw it was probably, I don't know if it was on tape or disc, but I saw it in 4:3, and I felt, I don't know, it was just like as soon as I saw it in widescreen, it was like whoa, the shots in the hall and everything just seemed like it was more encompassing. It came at you. So that was my big point about that because I never understood why he couldn't see, like, because even for the big screen he was saying no, no, I want that in 4:3. It's like really do. But yeah,
Hey, Kubrick, what can
it's
you say?
Kubrick, absolutely eccentric. It's like Friedkin was the same way. When he did he changed the color timing on The Exorcist,
Hmm.
and people were furious. He's done that with, they actually had to go in and fix his movie because it was like, dude, come on, you kill. He Friedkin was somebody that would mess around. He was also eccentric, and Kubrick, probably the most eccentric of them all. But yeah, so
So one of the things I did
yeah,
for researching this movie, and I got to mention it, is the documentary Room 237.
yes, yep,
And if you're a fan of The Shining, you kind of owe it to yourself to see this documentary.
yeah,
The filmmaker started talking to different people about this movie, and he ran into such a wide variety of um, messages people got from this movie that he decided to make a movie about that. And so it's interesting and hilarious
right,
in in equal mix because these are intelligent people, people that either work in the film industry or very well acquainted with the film industry, and they have just such wildly different ideas of what the film is about.
yeah.
I mean, you were mentioning how one person felt it was Kubrick's confession to the world about faking the moon landing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Which again, like I think when I think of that, to me, it's like um, if I think something was faked, I grew up during the lunar missions, the Apollo missions, and my God, like if they were gonna fake any, if they faked anything, to me, it's maybe that they saw shit on the moon, but not that they didn't get there. I mean, that to me is ridiculous. And so, I mean, I get it. It's a nice conspiracy thing, but
It's
I
funny. This guy, during the interview on the movie, he's
yeah,
saying that, oh yeah, I've talked to, you know, film producers
right,
and set creators that point out these things like, oh look, that's that, and that's
yeah,
that. That's how they got that effect. And yet, I've heard just the opposite from the same people. They've said that if you look at the lighting
oh
and
yeah,
the camera angle, it would have cost more to fake that than to
yeah,
actually go to the moon.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's it's too that one's too far out for me. But there's I just watched another documentary, and in that one, it was like the mysterious war of or films or mind of Stanley Kubrick, something like that. But they're talking about how he was like always trying to like put hints in his movies of secret societies and like the evil of Hollywood and things like that. And so supposedly he did all that in his movies. And they went into Eyes Wide Shut is a very strange movie. That was his last one
I,
with
I got
Nicole
to watch that
Kidman.
again.
Yes, and it's got a lot of like weird imagery in that, and they go on and on about the Illuminati, and that, you know, he was trying to reveal like different stuff with Hollywood and pedophilia and this whole, you know, I mean, it goes on, and so you know, was he doing that, or was it just that it's like looking at the Beatles music and saying, you know, like Charles Manson saying, oh, that's a message for us, you know? So you can, you know, there's nuts that read the Bible and do the same thing, you know, next thing you know, they're out killing people. And it's like, I don't think God was telling you to do that, buddy. But hey, if you want to think that way, go ahead, you nut. So, yeah, like I said, I think he was just eccentric. Um, I think that
Yeah,
was
well,
the,
I can't tell. I can't tell whether he was purposely messing with people's heads.
yeah, yeah.
Like, oh man, let's see what they think of this.
Well, there's a lot of like Apollo stuff in there. There's a lot of there's a lot of there's a sweatshirt or the sweater that Danny's wearing, the which was an unusual sweater, looked almost homemade, not out of a store or something. And there's even the guy that interviews the manager of the Overlook that interviews him. People have talked about how he looked like JFK, and that they had deliberately set that up, that particular office is set up to look like you know, like it's JFK behind the, you know, the big desk there. So yeah, like I said, it's
That man looked nothing like JFK to me.
no, he didn't to me, but that was one of the and another thing that I kind of Scatman. I am so glad he was in the movie. I love him in this movie. Usually makes an impact on, again, what you said, the other no small parts. Not that it was small, but he had actually a fairly large part.
He had a
But
pretty. I mean, he didn't get a lot of screen time, but he had a fairly pivotal role.
yes, and he was great. He was great. Just his interactions with Danny, talking with Danny and trying to get out of the you know, out his secret that he was hiding so well. But that's something that I in the book there were like there's a moment where Danny hits him with something. He's like trying to dig into his head,
Mhm.
and because he does it, like, you know, he's psychic, but he doesn't really know how to control the power that he has, and he kind of like digs into, you know, the Scat Man's head. Halloran was his name, but he's like shocked in the book. He's like, you know, like, holy shit, this kid just got, you know, hit me with something. So so yeah, in the book, you know, in the book, it's very much shown, but in the movie, you don't really, because he had said to the kid, if you ever get in trouble, like if you ever need help, because he's trying to make the kid feel better about being in the Overlook, and he's denying that it's like really dangerous, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, it is. Um, so he told him, he goes, if you ever get in trouble, he goes, you hit me like you did there. He goes, I think I'll feel it all the way down to Florida. And he did, because he's sitting there like, wow,
Mhm.
uh, this kid really sent him a
So
shock.
one more thing I have to discuss because
Yeah.
you know The Shining's a great movie, and if you haven't seen it, see it, rewatch it.
Yes.
But these other things like the documentary Room 237 really bring a deeper understanding and appreciation for the movie.
Yeah.
Another thing I got really caught up in was the website of Rob Ager, Ager. If anyone's interested, I can't think of it right now, but Google the impossible architecture of The Shining.
Huh.
And because they point out there's people actually draw maps, like when Danny is riding his tricycle down this hall and we see him turn here, and then when we see this next corner, the only way he could have possibly got there is if he went to another floor.
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so they talk about the window in that guy's office, how if you look at the outside, that should be surrounded by hallways.
Well,
But
when you ride a big wheel that fast,
Mhm.
I think you actually can't change floors. That's a joke, but but well, here's another thing with that one of this movie was one of several movies made that year that it was the first use of Steadicam. And yeah,
I don't know if it was the first use, but it was definitely the most extensive.
I thought I read that it was the first use of it that year, but I could be wrong. But
And they didn't just use the Steadicam; they had the inventor of the Steadicam.
yeah, well, yeah, that's what I was gonna, because he actually set up a lot of their shots,
Mhm.
and the like when he mounted that, it was, I think it was on a wheelchair, they said, but it was set, and he used a special lens that allowed them to get the Steadicam within like an inch of walls, floors,
Mhm.
doorways. I mean, that made it like much more intense when he's racing around on that thing.
Oh,
Uh,
they were very effective with that.
yeah. Now that's another thing, is that big wheel that he had. That I think that was an early version of that big wheel. Later became like all plastic, but he had the one that was partly metal. But I'm sure you remember. I almost think you guys had, growing up. I almost think you and your brother had a had a big wheel. But
I'm sure I had it.
yeah, but yeah, it was, that was one of those things that for a long time, like every kid had a big wheel, you know. So, but
Do
yeah.
you think this movie made sales go up or down when it came out?
That's a
Okay, we're not
that's
getting our kid that.
well, to tell you the truth, if I was a kid and I was watching the movie Frightened Out of My Mind, um, I probably would have thought to myself, "Oh, I want one of those." You know, it was, but
It's true, but if you were of the age that you would want a big wheel, I don't think anyone would let you see this movie.
that's true. That's true, because you couldn't fit on one if you were old enough to really be watching it. Now, the carpeting that's in this, I've got to talk about that. Years ago, I worked at an NCO club, Peace Air Force Base, and the carpets all looked like this. I mean, they were, that was something from the late 70s into the early 80s. All the carpeting, like colors and everything, that's such a 70s kind of thing. It's,
That carpeting is iconic.
yeah. Oh yeah. But like I still like, I remember, like even back then, I remember thinking, oh my God, these carpets are like they're so loud. And
Mhm.
but yeah,
Mhm.
you see that movie, and the carpets are one of the things that like really
Oh,
stand out with
they're
you.
like a cast member.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In
But
fact, like horror buffs love putting that design
yeah.
in different places.
Yeah.
Uh, During my research, I saw someone had taken a screenshot of the most recent version of it.
Yeah.
And in the shot, there are two characters talking. One is a kid with a skateboard. And if you look closely, the pattern on the skateboard is that
Wow.
carpet.
Wow, that's cool. That's really cool. Well, you know, I'll tell you what, this movie, it's talking about doing mushroom. This movie, well,
I
this
wouldn't do
movie,
mushrooms to this movie.
yeah, I don't think I'd want to. But no, but it's very like hallucinogenic to me. The movie in some ways strikes me the same way that Jacob's Ladder or something like that. Because I
Mhm.
remember like seeing that and I was like, wow, I feel like I'm tripping or something, you know. But this movie, I've had times where I'll see a scene in real life and I'll think, whoa, that looks like something out of a shot from The Shining. And a specific event, I was doing a delivery one time in New York, and I was just walking down a hallway, and it was a weird hallway, kind of like, you know, one of those narrow hallways in this. And even the way the carpets were, and like the lights on the side of the hallway, I stopped for a second. I was like, oh my God, I'm in The Shining. So like I said, I have to say, Kubrick made one brilliant movie here, and I love this movie. I'm not saying there aren't flaws, and I'm not saying that Stephen King maybe doesn't have some,
Well,
legitimate.
the thing is it's a very different story when told to Kubrick. It's like,
Yeah,
you know, I'm an artist. I can understand being attached to your art.
yeah,
Stephen King put a lot of work into making that book. And then Kubrick takes it, uses the framework, and throws away some of the elements that
yeah,
King considered very important. King wanted that to be very much about the average man, the everyman,
yeah.
and cracking under the strain of family, trying to get writing done, alcoholism.
Oh
Whereas,
yeah. Well,
whereas in the
isn't
Kubrick
it?
film,
Isn't
in the
it
Kubrick
funny?
film, the villain is the hotel itself.
Yeah. Is yeah, and well, and there's a couple of things here because for one thing, apparently Kubrick was an atheist and like a avowed atheist, didn't believe anything, and so for this movie, in many ways, it's a ghost story,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's a haunted hotel, and I don't think, and that, well, I'm not saying I don't think, I know from what the people have said that Kubrick didn't wanted to make it less about the something supernatural happening and more about the fact that it was like a man cracking over time.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a number of things about Jack that I would say it's like, yeah, you can see he was a fragile human being before he ever got there. And you could see him breaking while he was there. The isolation, which by the way, if anyone has an overlook hotel and they need somebody to take care of it for the winter, I'm your guy. I would love that, especially if I had a computer and some Wi-Fi or something, a video game
I,
player. I would love that job for the winter. you know,
the one of the opening scenes of The Shining
yeah,
is, I think, unintentionally hilarious.
yeah,
And it's like when the hotel manager, he's interviewing Jack, and he's like, well, there were several grisly murders.
yeah, yeah.
For one thing, he said it took him
I'd be
3 hours
amiss if
to
I don't
get there.
mention it.
It took him 3 hours to get to that interview. He
Yeah,
doesn't mention it beforehand.
yeah.
And
Well,
then
yeah,
Jack Nicholson's response is like, "Oh, we're fine with it. Kids will
yeah,
love that."
yeah. No problem. I'll just put that aside. But yeah. So when it comes to Jack, though, there's a number of things because I don't think that you can say that as far as like what Kubrick was doing was taking the entire supernatural element out of it. He wasn't, because there's who opened that door when he's in the freezer. I mean, it was who opened the door to 237 for Danny to lure him in, and then there's the woman, and that woman. I don't know if you remember that, but that woman like to completely freaked me out. And the first time I saw her, I thought something's wrong. Like even from the distance when she's supposed to look normal,
Well,
she
that's the thing. I mean, um, Kubrick may have wanted to separate the events from the supernatural,
right,
but his very filming techniques,
yeah,
instilled this feeling of the supernatural, that when you were in this hotel, you were in an alternate dimension.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I said, I looked at that. I looked at that whole movie, and it's like, yeah, it did have some kind of a supernatural element. You couldn't say that it didn't. And but my God, like explain the imagery. And the other thing is when you there's a gory image for you. Uh, but but the other thing is, why did if it was just him having the mental breakdown, why did he completely lie when he had the experience in the room? Yeah, I guess maybe because he thought that Wendy would take the kid out of there, which he was petrified of. But yeah, he comes back and he's like, I didn't say anything. There was nothing in the room.
Mhm.
And he just had this.
Well, I think, you know, there was early on an element of him trying to hold on to his sanity.
Yes,
And I think he mentally wanted to just ignore that any of that happened. It couldn't have
right.
been.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and again, you're absolutely right there. I think his mind was so yeah, it was on the brink. But so yeah, anything that was going on. And that is another thing is him kissing him kissing her. And then when he looks in the mirror and he sees the rotted corpse, it's like, oh my God. Yeah. Uh I mean, geez, like I said, she looked wrong to me the moment she started coming towards him. I thought something's wrong. I don't know what it is, but
Uh,
something's
uh,
wrong.
okay, Mike, I gotta to make us aware of the time,
Yes.
because this is a movie that I swear to God, like 10, 12 different books have been written about.
Oh
We
yeah.
could talk about this for a very long time, and
Yeah.
I don't want to make our video that long.
Yeah. No, I believe me, I get it. And as far as wrapping it up, yes, we could definitely we could
But
definitely
is
have
there
a,
any ending tidbits that you need to get out?
no, like I said, I look at how this particular movie was done, and I say I'll give it, a few flaws. I will say that there's a few things that maybe had I made the movie I would have changed, but everybody can say that about a movie. But overall, I think Kubrick did a phenomenal job. The movie, I'm a jaded horror buff, and I as far as horror, it seldom scares me anymore. There are very few movies that make me uneasy or what I would call scared. But
Hmm.
I really, I haven't been scared for many years, but this movie does cause me to be chilled. And so I would say it's that my it's a high recommendation. It's a scary movie.
Yeah,
So your thoughts on it?
the only thing I have to say is like I've got nothing new to add about the movie itself.
Yeah.
And again, there's been so much written and talked about out there that I certainly don't have much to add. The one thing I do have to say, with apologies to Kubrick, it is I can't think of this movie without also thinking of the Simpsons version. So that for anyone that's interested,
That's the
Simpsons
Simpsons fault.
Treehouse of Horror #5, I
Yeah.
believe,
Yeah.
has the Shinnin,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
because Bart has this psychic ability, and groundskeeper Willie is there, and he goes, "You got the Shinnin," and the um, groundskeeper Willie, no, Bart goes, "You mean the Shining?" And groundskeeper Willie says, "Quiet. Do you want to get sued?"
Wow. That's great. That's great. That's absolutely great.
But anyway, um, I think we could wrap it up.
Yeah. I think we actually covered a lot of ground uh in our time. I don't know, did we go over
Yeah,
an hour?
I don't think we're getting close to an hour. We're flirting with an hour.
Right.
Um, so I just wanted to say, you chose this movie,
Yeah.
great movie. I'm going to choose something that requires less research for our next video.
Okay.
I'm choosing the horror movie The Endless,
Okay. All right.
done by Benson and Moorhead, I think.
Okay.
Morehouse.
I'll have
But
to do my research, but yeah, I
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
seen it.
I absolutely love this film.
Okay.
It's not the best, but I think it's just an incredible example of filmmaking, and
Excellent.
filmmaking on a budget.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it because I haven't seen it
Awesome.
yet. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And I'm gonna do the statement that Dom hates. Please, if you guys enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, uh, well, no, if you didn't, I'm not going to ask you to like, but if you liked it, if you enjoy at all what we're doing, please leave a like, and if you would subscribe, it really is very helpful for us. We're trying to continue with this. We're having fun. We hope you guys are.
We
This
got
is
lots of movies to watch.
Yes, and we're willing to discuss pretty much any genre, any type of movie, and we just have fun with this. So
Yeah, we'll take requests. If you can introduce us to a movie we haven't seen before.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think we did a fairly good job of covering a lot of the vast things about this. I'm sure we could have talked for another hour,
Oh,
but but the audience probably would have.
I'm sure they've got their limits. Listen,
Yeah, it really it probably passed about a half hour ago. But anyway, but yes, thank you guys for listening, and we'll bring you the endless for the next one. So,
yep.
and
Had fun talking. Come
yep,
on back. Thanks, Mike.
Dom, I had a great time, and see you next week.
Awesome.
Bye.